Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. After signing Al Horford, the Warriors have several veteran players on the roster, aiming to win a championship this season. The Warriors have also expressed interest in signing another star, Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat, who is an excellent center, excellent defender, and excellent scorer. Adebayo has a strong presence in the paint, is an effective blocker, and also grabs plenty of rebounds. If the Warriors can pull off a trade for Bam Adebayo, they will become the Western Conference favorite. Finding a versatile front-court option in the mold of Draymond Green is hard for any team to find, but it's something the Golden State Warriors might have to start thinking about as the veteran draws to the pointy end of his career. With Jonathan Kuminga now on a very tradable contract once eligible mid-season, the Warriors are likely to be on the hunt for another star to try and make use of what Green, Stephen Curry, and Jimmy Butler have left in their careers. Fortunately, their next rumored trade target would not only add to their hopes of contending in the short term, but also be a perfect replacement for Green in the long term whenever the franchise legend chooses to retire. Warriors are reportedly interested in trading for Bam Adebayo. There's plenty of links to be made between the Warriors and Miami Heat big man Bam Adebayo, starting with the obvious connection with former teammate Jimmy Butler after the pair led the franchise to a pair of NBA Finals appearances. Now Brett Siegel of Clutch Points has reported that Adebayo is on the list of potential targets for the Warriors if he was ever to become available after spending what will now be his 9th season with the Heat. Bam Adebayo is another all-star in the East who would be at the top of the Warriors' list of potential trade targets if he were to ever request a trade from the Miami Heat, sources said. Having earned Defensive Player of the Year votes in each of the past 6 seasons, while also averaging 4 assists during that period, Adebayo could be an excellent replacement for Green as a 28-year-old in the middle of his prime. In the meantime, the two could work together to form a lethal defensive front-court combination, albeit the trio with those two and Butler would run into some spacing concerns offensively. Adebayo did average 2.8 three-point attempts per game last season, but has otherwise averaged just 0.6 through his career at only 31.4%. There's no doubt the Heat would ask for the world in an Adebayo trade, but his $37.1 million contract for this season does make it at least possible from a salary matching standpoint without having to give up one of Butler, Green, or Stephen Curry. Any potential Adebayo trade is bound to be dependent on how both teams start the season, yet it is worth monitoring for Warrior fans, particularly if Heat forward Andrew Wiggins also presents as a potential target in a Kuminga trade. Steve Kerr's new lineup suggestion could finally unlock Jonathan Kuminga. The Golden State Warriors had a long negotiation process with Jonathan Kuminga, spanning several months, but eventually settled on a 2-year, $48.5 million deal with a team option for the second season. Avoiding the qualifying offer was major for Golden State to avoid losing him for nothing, but now the team has to find a way to utilize their 4th highest paid player. The Warriors seem to have found a spot for him after Steph Curry went down with a hamstring injury in the postseason, leading to Kuminga scoring 26.3 points per game in the final 3 games of Golden State's season. Now, with some new additions to the roster, Steve Kerr's recent lineup suggestion could be the key to unlocking the young forward. Steve Kerr suggests lineup pairing to play to Kuminga's strengths. Speaking during training camp this week, Kerr told reporters that there's one two-man combo that sticks out to him when looking who to pair alongside new signing Al Horford. Maybe Al, Horford, and Jonathan Kuminga, Kerr said Friday, according to NBC Sports Bay Area. You know, I think that's a two-man combo that could make some sense. Kerr didn't stop there, adding some context as to why he thinks the two could work well together on the court. With JK, we want to give him space when he's got the ball. Al can do that. So, if JK's at the 4, AL's at the 5, and we put shooters around those guys, that could be an interesting combination. Why this makes sense for Golden State? Outside of Quinton Post's late-season surge last year as a stretch 5, Golden State really hasn't had a true floor spacer at the center position in the Steve Kerr era. Given that Kuminga has made less than 1 3 per game on average throughout his career and has shot 31.3% over the last 2 seasons, Golden State has been at a disadvantage when playing him next to a traditional big. Therefore, putting Kuminga in a lineup where he's the only non-shooter could be the ideal situation for him to be able to play to his strengths as a slasher. That lineup could look something like Steph Curry, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, Kuminga, and Horford. In that situation, you have 4 shooters surrounding Kuminga, opening up the paint for him, where he converted 73.6% of his attempts from within 3 feet a season ago. This will all take some time to figure out, but the addition of Horford will be beneficial not only for Kuminga but for other players like Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, who are inconsistent shooters as well. Warriors' biggest opponent this season will be Father Time. The Golden State Warriors are leaning on experience more than ever. They signed Al Horford to a 2-year deal with a player option for 2026 to 27, and brought in Seth Curry on an Exhibit 9 contract, a non-guaranteed training camp deal that will reportedly see him waived and re-signed later mid-November. Add that to a core of Stephen Curry, 37, Jimmy Butler, 36, Draymond Green, 35, Horford, 39, and Seth himself, 35, and the Warriors look less like a modern NBA team and more like a throwback to a different era, as they'll break a record no team wants to start the 2025-26 season. The age gap with the West. The contrast with today's West is striking. The Oklahoma City Thunder just won the championship with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 26 at the time, Chet Holmgren, 23, Jalen Williams, 24, and Alex Caruso, 33, as the veteran glue guy. Their title run was built on speed, length, and constant defensive energy, exactly the traits that fade fastest with age. Meanwhile, Golden State is counting on battle-tested veterans to navigate the same gauntlet. Horford remains a brilliant positional defender and floor spacer, but he's nearly 40. Seth Curry can still shoot, but he doesn't bring defensive value. Butler is past his physical peak and has struggled with durability. Even Steph, though still an elite shooter and playmaker, doesn't blow past defenders the way he once did. The Warriors believe playoff experience can still win out. But in a Western Conference where younger cores run the floor every night, surviving the regular season grind is the first test, and that may be harder for this roster than any postseason matchup. Can IQ beat Father Time? Golden State's case is that veterans know how to pace themselves. Steph doesn't need to carry 70 games, he needs to be healthy in April. Horford has made a career out of maximizing short bursts, and Butler has always been selective about when to push. In theory, if the Warriors can just get to the postseason healthy, they have the muscle memory to compete. But that's a thin margin. The West is unforgiving, with the Thunder, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and even Houston Rockets built around players who can push tempo for 82 games. If the Warriors drop too many games early, they'll find themselves battling for play-in position instead of playoff seeding. And relying on 4 starters who are 35 or older means injuries aren't hypothetical, they're inevitable. It's a very risky gamble. The Warriors are betting that experience and IQ can still outweigh youth and energy in today's NBA. Maybe they're right, Steph's shooting, Butler's grit, Draymond's defense, and Horford's brain are still elite traits. But they're also trying to win in 2026 with a roster that would have looked more at home in 2016. The Warriors have always been defined by beating the odds. This time, the opponent isn't just the West's young talent. It's time itself. And no dynasty, no matter how smart or skilled, has ever fully won that battle. Jonathan Kuminga trade partner may be impossible for Warriors to find. It's quite possible nobody will want to take on the risk. As the Golden State Warriors ultimately ended their Jonathan Kuminga standoff by bringing him back on a 2-year, $46.8 million deal with a team option, it quickly became apparent that the organization would look to deal him sooner rather than later. Throughout the offseason, the Warriors have held strong to their stated desire to bring back either a difference-making player or a young player and a first-round draft pick in exchange for Kuminga, but Zach Lowe, on the most recent episode of his podcast, has expressed serious doubt about their ability to pull this off. For a number of reasons, bringing back another star-caliber player in Kuminga will likely prove to be difficult, and, if they encounter problems finding a trade partner, Golden State could be deeply regretting their entire handling of the situation this summer. Trading Jonathan Kuminga may pose an extreme difficulty. On the recent episode of Zach Lowe's podcast, Kuminga's contract resolution was a major topic of conversation, especially given the fact that it has been the largest storyline of the latter portion of the offseason. Yet, in regards to the next developing storyline, a potential Kuminga trade, Lowe has serious doubts about what team would even be a fit for the dynamic young forward. According to Lowe, both the Kings and the Suns have already been tried as trade partners, and neither were willing to part with the draft assets or the players that the Warriors might want in return. While a player such as Keegan Murray would be a perfect return from the Kings, it is unlikely that that organization will be willing to part with him. Other teams around which rumors have swirled, including the Chicago Bulls, Milwaukee Bucks, and Miami Heat, either do not have the players that would fit into Golden State's system or do not have the minutes or the fit that Kuminga would desire. Therefore, the Warriors are stuck in an exceedingly difficult position if their attempt to ingratiate Kuminga back into the rotation goes south. Unless a surprise contender for his services emerges, there is almost no team that could provide Golden State with a suitable return according to what their demands have been so far. However, the organization does have one thing going for them. Now that Kuminga has been signed, and would no longer be a sign-and-trade were he to be dealt, his salary now represents its full value for salary matching purposes, granting the Warriors exponentially more flexibility in constructing a deal. Yet, if there is no team willing to help accelerate Golden State's urgent timeline, Kuminga could find himself stuck yet again in the Bay until the expiration of his contract. Warriors signed 6'1" former NCAA champion to support Stephen Curry. While the competition isn't as fierce, winning a title at the collegiate level while playing a refined role to perfection is nothing to scoff at. A former Baylor and Houston contributor did just that, helping the Bears secure a national championship in 2021. The Golden State Warriors, who prioritize winning yearly, were clearly impressed with the 6'1" guard's championship pedigree and captivating skill set, as they signed him to a deal earlier this week. The Golden State Warriors have signed free agent center Marques Bolden, along with guards L.J. Cryer and Tevian Kinsey, the Dubs announced Monday. Per team policy, terms of the agreement were not released. Cryer, 23, played in 147 games, 111 starts, over 5 collegiate seasons at Baylor, 2020-23, and Houston, 2023-25, averaging 13.5 points, 2.0 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and 28.5 minutes per game. Unselected in the 2025 NBA Draft, he was named first-team All-Big 12 in 2025 and was a member of Baylor's 2021 national championship team. Cryer only averaged 3.4 points per game during Baylor's 2020-21 championship season, but stood out thanks to his relentless on-ball defense as an undersized guard. During Cryer's following 4 seasons, though, Cryer's offense came alive as his comfort level increased, enabling him to make more plays off the dribble and have the ball in his hands during crunch time. The Katy, Texas native averaged 13.5 points per game as a sophomore, 15.0 as a junior, 15.5 as a senior, and 15.7 as a graduate student/super senior. Cryer, who didn't perform well with the Warriors during his lone NBA 2K26 Summer League outing, he finished with 5.0 points on 33.3% field goal shooting and 25% three-point shooting, must take advantage of his second impression with the organization if he wishes to have a future in the Bay. Jonathan Kuminga is drawing interest from 3 NBA teams. Jonathan Kuminga is now officially back with the Golden State Warriors, but he may not be there for long. Even though he just inked a new deal, many reports state that he could be leaving the team by the trade deadline in February. According to Jake Fisher, he is already receiving interest from 3 other teams, the Chicago Bulls, Sacramento Kings, and Phoenix Suns. Seeing these teams pop up in this list isn't surprising. That's especially true for the Kings, who have allegedly had an eye on Kuminga for some time. In fact, a lot of people thought the Warriors would create a sign-and-trade deal that sent Kuminga to Sacramento, but that never happened. They would obviously be one of the most watched teams here, because they want Kuminga and will spend the next few months figuring out how to get him. The Bulls and Suns would also be smart to try for him as well, because he is the sort of young player who can instantly fit into most rotations and could be built around. It seems that the Warriors are serious about moving him later in the season. As the trade deadline gets closer, there will be rumors of other teams contemplating a run at Kuminga. Until then, he will try to earn as many minutes as possible with the Warriors. This will not only help his current team, but it'll make him more attractive to potential future squads as well. Fans can expect to see Kuminga playing hard this year, laying the groundwork for what's to come.